There's nothing to be afraid of. It's just Latasha.
Hey everyone, it's JustLatasha. I am hella excited today because we are doing the Watchmen finale breakdown, and I love doing film reviews. I love doing black film and TV reviews, and I really wanted to review the Watchmen series, but I thought, I only upload videos here Tuesdays and Thursdays, so if I review each episode, then it only leaves me one video to be able to get into topics and talk to y'all. It just didn't quite make sense, but I'm so happy to be here to dissect season 1 finale of Watchmen. There's so much to cover. As you guys can see from the timestamp, we are going to be here for a while. Buckle in, get comfortable, and of course, become a Patreon, support creators, support indie creators. I thank you all in advance for being here and listening to my take on this incredible one of the best shows, easily hand down to 2019. I was so excited to dive into it, and I think puzzles are fun. I think mental puzzles are fun, and Watchmen gave us a plethora of them. And because I am only familiar with this series as far as the Watchmen universe goes, and I did see the movie that came out years ago, but I don't remember much of it. This is purely dissection of what they showed us in this series. If you are a comic nerd and you know this series inside and out, you on the wrong show, you on the wrong channel. I'm specifically talking about the series and what they showed us in the series, and that is as deep as this will go. And I'm sure you guys have a bunch of Easter eggs and theories and conspiracies all on your own, so make sure you're putting those in the comments as well if you guys feel like I missed anything. Totally open to the Watchmen conversation, so let's dive right in. We end on episode 9 as the finale, and if you are a numerology nerd like I am, you guys know that number 9 means completion, babies. The end is nigh. We have come full circle, prophecies have been fulfilled, and we are at the completion. But as Watchmen's Twitter account officially tweeted, nothing ever ends. We are in a continuous cycle of new experience in this thing called life, and there are so many Easter eggs in the pilot that are very much revisited here in the finale, because this is we have come full circle, and they very much wanted you to know that. They wanted you to know how we began is how we will end, and this is Oklahoma's last show. I don't know if you guys caught the marquee on Dreamland Theater. This is Oklahoma's last show. This is the big bang, the big finale. So here we go. Also, if you guys notice on the official Watchmen poster featuring "Take Me to the King," Miss Regina King, her body is actually facing number 9. And in the beginning, she showed us where she will end. This is her end, So, and of course, she's emerged in blue. Her prophecy is fulfilled. There's so much meaning in that poster alone, and I thought, for a sight, they were just giving us great art, but it meant so much now that we've finished the series. So here we go. The show opens up, begin in 1985, where Adrian Veidt, is recording himself speaking to President Redford. And he's speaking and recording himself this message to President Redford, speaking about this one-eyed octopus, this huge alien that he sent to Earth to avoid nuclear war between the U.S. and Russia. He's just living in his cunts, honey. He's living in his pussy. He's like, I want the world to know that this was me. I want the world to give me my glory. And we didn't. We finally meet Beon. This is Lady True's mother, who stole Adrian Veidt's semen to get out of this cycle. F slavery, F whatever this life is. I want to be bigger than the waves. I want to be in the life of kings. I want to end the cycle of slavery. Beon is like not having it. Okay. She's not having it. So with a big FU to everything Veidt wants to be, she steals his semen and she creates a genius child who she knows she would be her ancestors' wildest dreams. I love color theory. If you guys haven't seen my episode of Black Mirror Striking Vipers, shout out to Yaya because he was in that too. Is that where I first fell in love with him? I think it was. But blue, the color blue is everywhere. And this just means, the God that Manhattan is, Dr. Manhattan is, he is ever present. He is omniscient. He is always around even when he ain't around. Okay. He is always included in the everlasting universal plan. Even if he can't control what happens, like he said, he sees the strings. So here's what I thought was really funny. Trieu meets her daddy. She meets Adrian. And whether or not they knew each other hither or thither, they are just alike. They are both narcissists who want the world to bow at their feet. Veidt has a huge portrait of Alexander the Great, who is sort of in like this godlike position. Jesus halo around the head, little baby cherubs, little angel babies circling him. And he honors this picture. And this is the picture that protects his semen. Even though, what was the plan there, babe? What was the plan, honey? Because you were never with a woman, so where was they gonna go? Okay, that's just a question that I have for you in front of your batch of kids. Shout out to 2346, Miss Trieu herself. They are just alike. They are just as egotistical and narcissistic as each other. So you could tell this is his baby. How can you tell Trieu is just an egotistical maniac? She has this huge clock in the sky, and you'd have to pay attention. The world will have to pay attention to her greatest plan. And this is something that stems from the pilot. We actually saw Trieu's plan before we even met Trieu. They had this beautiful visual of the Tulsa horizon, of the cityscapes, and all the way to the left you could see Trieu's clock, and it was never addressed, it just existed. So I thought that was really cool. And this is how Trieu entered Veidt's lair. When she hikes through this blizzard to get to where he is, she showers him with compliments, and the world should have seen you. And she just emotionally manipulates him by playing into his pride. Like, they totally know how to get each other. And he does the same thing back. You know, when she originally asked him for money to help her execute her plan, he's like, I'm actually going to gift you with nothing. I ain't calling you daughter. I'm not doing any of that. And when it was time for him to need her help to be saved from Europa, Jupiter's moon, where Dr. Manhattan has placed him, this is when he calls her daughter, because he knows that's what she wants. So he plays into her ego when it's time for him to ask something. So they are of the same yolk. Oh, is that an egg pun? They are of the same yolk. You could tell they are of a generational lineage. And there are two things that they really want that have never been granted. Veidt wants credit from the world for saving it. Why won't anyone just goddamn thank him? No one will thank him. He was never granted that. And Trieu wants credit from her parents. Dad, can you see me? Mom, I'm actually going to remake you so you can see me. I want you guys to see this legacy and who I've become from nothing to something. She never got that either. And when Trieu is in Veidt's lair, when she finally gets in, the answer is right there. Let's go back to the pilot and how it sets it all up. We can tell who's the hero and who's the bad guy by color. We can tell the heroes by color. Veidt is actually dressed in a color close to black. He's not quite in black. He's actually in a dark purple, but it looks black. And Trieu is dressed in white. Now, from our normal, especially American standpoint, white equals good, pure, clean, heavenly, godly, and black is bad and violent and savage and dark and mysterious. And you want to protect yourself from black. But in this series, they intentionally switched those two things. This is for racial parallels, and this is also just to really make your mind work. You have to manually invert everything that you have been groomed to know. Black is good and white is bad. And so if you see these two standing next to each other, and we believe that Trieu was a pure-hearted philanthropist this entire time, but she's in bad guy white, well, we can kind of ask ourselves, how is this going to end? Who is this lady really? And Trieu makes it clear to Veidt, her father, that she wants Manhattan's powers. And you can see from her coat, where she lays it, where she's positioned in the room, she has the intention of being consumed by Manhattan's powers. But this is very different from how we usually see Angela, right? When we met Angela in the pilot, she's surrounded by Blue. When she's in the classroom, when she's in Vietnam as a child, she is totally surrounded by Blue. Manhattan has had his eye on her family and her for generations, God. You know what I mean? But this is unlike Trieu. Trieu only has like pops of Blue around her. So it's like, you want it, but you can't get it. All right? There was a really cool part where the actors and the characters did this like blocking. Veidt was actually standing in front of the Alexander the Great portrait because this is really his intention. He is a man. He understands that he is a man. He doesn't want the powers of a god, but he wants godlike praise. He wants to be praised like a god while still remaining a man. And Trieu is sitting next to Blue because she wants the power of the god and she doesn't care about Alexander the Great. You're still a man at the end of the day. Like, who cares? But then they do something. They realign themselves. They switch positions in the room, and Trieu actually ends up standing in between the Alexander the Great photo and Veidt. She actually wants to be the dream that he never saw realized. So actually, as he's facing this Alexander the Great portrait, he has to stare at his daughter. I am going to be the vision that you couldn't achieve, Dad. And I think it's one of the miseries of this is that Veidt's desires have like never turned out to go in his favor. Everything that he wanted kind of turned into his prison. His heaven was actually just a lonely trap on Europa, and he loves royalty, he loves riches, he loves being praised. And when he's finally encapsulated in gold, that's a prison that Trieu held him in. Trieu kept her daddy in that gold case in her house until she was ready. Very important line of dialogue here. Trieu says, Veidt, it's great that you stopped the clock, but what happens if you started back up again? And Veidt replies, we're back right where we left off. This is where we understand that the ending is the beginning. And this is why I think it's super important. It's imperative to tie the things that happen in the pilot with the things that happen in the finale. They set it up intentionally that way because episode 1 is just as important as episode 9, and episode 1 shows its little Easter eggs leading to all the answers in episode 9 because, as Watchmen said, nothing ever ends. We're in a cycle. We're in this continuous loop. So let's bring it up to today, all right? 2019. We understand that Trieu has the plan to take Manhattan's powers. Veidt is in Oklahoma with her. You know, Daddy's back. He woke up at the gold prison cell. But while rescuing him, this lady, as we can say, has big balls. She literally shows it in the space of her spaceship. And when she lands to rescue Veidt from Europa, she literally drops her balls. It looks like a testicle. She drops it on the land and she captures her dad with it. And then when he finally arrives and he's melted out of this gold chamber, she asks him like, well, you look thirsty. And it looks to be as if she's taking care of him, but no, it's so much deeper than that. After she drops her balls on him, her big balls on him, she makes him suck her dick. Like, this is what it is. Just look at the material, guys. She's like, suck my dick. And that's what she makes Veidt do. And he has to just nuzzle and he has to take from, he needs her, and she's loving every minute of it. And as we've seen Trieu through the season, she has no emotional connection with people. She's robotic almost. And the only time that we see her kind of connect or kind of revel in pride is when they're praising her. When Veidt looks at her and goes, wow, your clock is beautiful. You actually did it. She kind of has a moment. And the only reason why her parents are there is not because she loves them and misses them. She only wants them there so they can witness her win. Egotistical maniac, a narcissist. But how subtle was it this entire series? Like, we didn't really know. And as she's on her way to go kill Dr. Manhattan to steal his powers, she literally puts on a white hat. Now, this brings us back to the pilot. In the opening scene, we understand that the white hat sheriff is actually the bad guy. And the black marshal of Oklahoma, Mr. Bass Reeves, the black cop, on the black horse, is the hero. So when she puts on the white hat, that's the writers and the directors telling us she ain't the good guy, y'all. She is not a hero. She literally puts on the white hat. This is one of the clues that we knew that Chief Judd wasn't who he seemed to be. He seemed to be friendly and loved the Abars and wanted to hang out, but he wore that white hat. He wore that sheriff's white hat. And you're not a good guy, because why? In his closet, he's hiding his granddaddy's KKK uniform. That's his legacy. And legacy was one of the hugest themes in this series. Where did you come from? Who are you now? Where are you going? Okay. And we can see a bit of his racism peek out just a little bit from the pilot when he's having dinner with Angela Abar and Cal Abar. And Chief Judd's wife exposes him by saying, oh, he didn't even really like the black version of Oklahoma. And he didn't let Angela know that. He was trying to hide that from her. And she exposed it by accident, because she's also, like Chief Judd, a white supremacist. But you know how racists don't say, hey, I'm racist. They go, oh, it's your hair, or your skirt's too short, or you got an attitude. They make up these very surface reasons to cover the fact that, nah, you just don't like me because I'm black. And if you guys, I know I'm getting a lot of like new subscribers with this video. I know I'm getting a lot of new viewers. If you guys couldn't tell by this point, I am a black woman. I am black. Might drop the N-word a few times. I'm not even gonna lie. I might. And Judd, he doesn't say that he doesn't outright say, I don't like the black version of my favorite play in all the land because they're black. He goes, they didn't really have their heart into it. You know, their hearts really weren't into it. And Angela, she kind of catches it just a little bit, but, you know, she moved on. So let's jump ahead. We are going to go where the Cavalry, the 7th Cavalry, meet, because they are capturing Dr. Manhattan, and Senator King is going to be the one absorbing Manhattan's powers. We meet his father. This is King's legacy. Senator King's father, who pulls up in the wheelchair, the red tie, and hits us with a white supremacist symbol on the forehead. Bam! In this shot, I feel like a lot of things are very strung together. They're all linear and tied together. As he's making this white supremacist symbol, he has one eye covered. Now, I feel like I want to draw conclusions to the Illuminati and secret societies and white men who built this country based off of racism and wealth. Not really going to do that. What I am going to do is say that this country alone was founded on racism, and that there's nothing else to say about that. So when I see his one eye and I see the hand symbol, and then boom, the next scene is Agent Blake facing that one-eyed Cyclops, a symbol of white supremacy. It's just very, very telling. It's very telling, and I think all these little hints and pieces are strung together so seamlessly, but very intentionally, that we can easily miss it, or we can be a nerd like me and call it all out. I just think it's really cool, and the fact that this series is not shy to just say it like it is. White supremacists are hiding in plain sight. So yes, you have this white supremacist group that has these Rorschach masks, and they're not showing their identities as these white supremacists, but in their video to the cops, this threatening video to the police, they say, we are everyone, we are no one. And they're in the police force, and they're in politics, and they're your friends, and these white supremacists are hiding in plain sight. And that is one of the bravest things that TV could say these days, because white people don't like no accountability now. Let me tell you that. If there's one thing racists hate, is being called racist. That's the worst thing that you could possibly do to a racist. Not teleport them and kill them. So we're seeing this theme of legacy pop up yet again, the major theme throughout this series. Now, with the legacy of Senator King being the son, the inherited of the Cyclops, the white supremacist group, we understand that racism doesn't die with the grandparents. Racism doesn't die with the parents. His daddy is old as hell. Senator King Sr., old as hell in that wheelchair, racist as hell, and he taught his son to be just as racist. So I think that was a major important thing to say. The legacy of the Abars. Willie saw his parents die, and that trauma jump-started his new identity to put on the mask and fight for justice. He fought for justice in order to mask the pain. And this is something that Agent Blake said to Angela, right? You wear the mask to hide the pain. And Angela at that time wasn't having it. No, I don't. It's for protection. Yeah, protection from the pain. And she was absolutely right. Even though she was dragging Angela And this is Angela's legacy. Angela, just like Willie Reeves, her grandfather, she also saw her parents die. And in that moment, jump-started her trauma to thrust her into a life of justice, to satisfy that trauma that she emotionally got stuck in, right? And we see at the beginning, Angela is hardened. She tells the truth like it is. She hides things that she feels that she needs to, but she's hardened and reserved, and her love is only towards her husband and her kids. Everybody else really could kick rocks. Like, everybody else could kick rocks, but she only gives that vulnerability to a very select few because that trauma didn't get to thrive. Legacy also with Chief Judd. He's holding on to his grandfather's KKK uniform. He's also holding on to his grandfather's values. And we see that portrait of him in his closet. There's a portrait of him as a child sitting on Granddaddy's lap with Granddaddy's KKK uniform in the closet. And so y'all all gotta die. I'm sorry. Y'all all gotta die. There's this single shot that, without words, and this is how good they are. Without saying a thing, you have encapsulated the birth of America with a single shot, and here it is. You have the American flag, you have Christ on the cross, you have a politician, and you have a white supremacist. If that doesn't make up the birth of America, I don't know what does. You just throw that in the pot. That's exactly how America was birthed. And we can parallel this to the pilot with the very opening shot. The very first thing we see to open this entire series was a church with a cross. Good versus bad. Who's the good guy? Who's the bad guy? Can't quite tell. And all of this is just a single thread between religion, white supremacy, and politics. How it's all jumbled up in one to fuel powers to white people. And this was also the start of Angela Abar's lineage of heroism, this single scene, this single moment, because it fed Willie Reeves' desire to have justice and become his own superhero, which then goes down the family line until we get to Angela. So all of this shot alone is the birth of why all of this is here right now. So we get into Senator King's monologue, which, I mean, bitch, this is the white man's woes. Like, this is the white man's woes. If you want to know what white men are sad about, this is it. Senator King goes on saying white people have to apologize because of what our ancestors did. Like, you know, they died and we still have to say sorry now. So this is white people saying, well, racism is not our fault, but okay, sis, you're still upholding the values and its presence. If you're not knocking down white supremacy, then you're still a white supremacist. And I don't understand what you're crying about. Like, what are you upset about? It doesn't make any sense. He also says it's hard for white men in America, which is really just the balance of power. White people are used to having all of it, and now it's tilting back down to the people, so they feel like they're losing. They feel like they're being attacked when really power is equaling out because you're going to hear us and feel us now. He says, we want to take our power back, and I want to ride on my white horse right up into the White House. And he's willing to start a race war to get that white power back. And this, black and white equals bad. He's going to take this white horse and go up to the White House. And we know White House is built by who? Black slaves. Come on, Beyonce said it herself. We done with slavery. Slavery's canceled. So this whole scheme had to be canceled because that's not what's going to go down. So at this moment, all plans are revealed. It's revealed that Chief Judd and his wife only befriended Angela Abar and Cal just to keep an eye on Cal because they knew from the beginning that Cal was Dr. Manhattan, and they wanted to get close to him, and they wanted to keep an eye on him, and they knew exactly who he was. And they knew from the White Night when Angela got shot on that terrible, terrible terrorist night that it was Cal, aka Dr. Manhattan, who teleported that guy who was about to take that shotgun to Miss Angela Abar's face. He teleported him to Mexico. This is Dr. Manhattan, Lil John. This was his birthplace. So how did my mans go from Angela's house down to New Mexico? Oh, so you Dr. Manhattan. Okay, cool. Got it. Cool. Another plan, the Rorschach plan, when they were stealing lithium out of all these watches just to make this cage for Dr. Manhattan and take his power for Keen. Willie Reeves' plan, when he teamed up with Trieu to capture Manhattan for herself. But little did Trieu know, Willie Reeves had a bigger plan with Manhattan, whose biggest plan was to make Keen go out first, Trieu go out second, I'm going out last, but my plan will reveal and save all, because Manhattan knew she wouldn't win. Now, this goes back to the pilot as well, because something was very impertinent at this moment. You know, as baby Willie Reeves, young boy little Willie Reeves is watching Bass Reeves on the big screen, something flashed in this silent film, and it goes as, "There will be no mob justice today. Trust in the law." Sorry, King, your mob ain't gonna win. Sorry, Trieu, you and your entourage ain't gonna win. Trust in the law, the universal law of the gods. That's who will win, the universal law. There will be no mob justice today, and that's what the pilot told us in the beginning. Don't matter what your plans are. Manhattan said, who? Who? I want to talk about Dreamland Theater. This theater means so much. The Oklahoma massacre of white supremacy, the terrorism of white supremacy in 1921. This is the birthplace of Willie Reeves' generational trauma, the trauma that will carry through his bloodline until it got to Angela. And this is the opening scene in the pilot where we're watching all these black people be slain by the KKK. And what starts in the beginning is what finishes in the end. We have this squid being this inconvenience, you know, this inconvenient rain in the pilot, but being the almighty salvation, the salvation to saving the day in the end. Trieu can't get her way because now it's ice squid coming down. What you gonna do, Trieu? Not a goddamn thing. Lay there. Go ahead and lay there. Can we just take a moment to talk about black love? Can we please just take a moment? I mean, wow, what storytelling, what vulnerability, what love, what care, what protection. And when I see Angela in the pilot being surrounded by all that blue, it made me feel like Dr. Manhattan was protecting her, that he was always covering her. He always had her back. And so now that he needs her, I don't want to be alone when I die. Look at his face. Look at those eyes. Okay. I don't know how you put softness, vulnerability, fear, love into just a moment. These actors, Yahoo Abdul-Mateen II is brilliant. Miss Regina King is brilliant. You could just tell the love bleeding from their souls for each other. It was so beautiful. And because he has never left her, he was there with her granddaddy. Okay. He has never left her. She wouldn't dare leave him. And she said, I'm not going. Hey, I'm not going. You're the best God I ever had. All right. She is not going. I don't care what this light going to do. Who going to check me, boo? We ain't going nowhere. And so we lose Manhattan. We lose Manhattan and Regina trying to get it together. You know, Miss Angela Abar trying to get it together. And we finally see the full breadth of Trieu being her full villainous self. We trusted the wrong person this entire time. She's a full-blown villain. And as her father, Adrian Veidt, says, she is a raging narcissist with no limits. How would he know that? It take one to be one. And that's really the end-all be-all. That's it. It takes one to be one. Her chamber to transfer Manhattan's powers to her is full of mirrors. And she tells Manhattan, you think I need an audience? Because I don't. Like, I don't need no audience. She wants to look upon herself as she estimates that she will be absorbing Manhattan's power. She wants to look at herself as surrounded by mirrors. And something really cool happens. When we're doing a close-up on her face, we see Christ on the cross in the background. She is becoming Christ the King. She's becoming the God, human to God. This is her desire. However, the word pig is behind her. Now, this is just a storefront, but nothing in here is without intention. In Watchmen, the word pig is behind her. And where did we see a pig, y'all? Let's go back to the pilot. This little baby, this future racist, is holding a pig. And what do we call cops? Because we do not mess with the po-po. We call them pigs. So even though you're dressed in white, even though you said you're here to save the world, like Jesus was here to save mankind. I'm gonna make peace all over the world. You wasn't gonna do that. You know, Jesus rejected pork. Hello? You a pig, hon. Jesus rejected pork, but he was the sacrificial lamb. Don't play with me, y'all. Don't play with me. The pig is equivalent to the cops, which is equivalent to white supremacy, which is equivalent to the white hat. You are villains. You are villains. You are villains. You are villains. And if you add 2, 3, 4, 6, you get 15. And then when you add the 1 and the 5, you get 6. And when you have 6, I'm just playing with y'all. I'm playing. I'm absolutely playing. But that's exactly it. She wanted to be a Christ-like figure, but she a pig, hon. Take that white hat and go. Now, something interesting is said on the cross with Jesus. It says, "Praise waiteth." And I had to Google it because I was like, what is that? What does that mean? And it's a song. And some of the song is, "O Lord, you are my everything. Praise waiteth for thee, my King. O thou who hearest every prayer, O Lord, you are my everything." She is her own everything. And she wants to be this God-like king. And she is her mother's legacy. Beyond, when inseminating herself, did a prayer before she took Veidt semen and put it in her body. She said, "I want to be a king. I want to be larger than the waves. I want to be free of slavery." This is a prayer. So we end with this religious arc of Trieu thinking she's Christ. And she even extends her arms as he has it on the cross. And this is just a full circle moment. And I thought this was a pretty cool mirror to Jesus's life. Actually, Trieu's life does mirror Jesus' life. Her father started her off with nothing. He was absent. He shows up at the end of her life. She was raised by just a mother to die and sacrifice for the overall universal salvation. So she was a sacrifice for the higher plan. It wasn't her plan, but she was the sacrifice for the plan of God. Come on, don't play with me. Don't play with me. This is such good story writing. Oh my God. Keen's dead. He's a pool of blood. Trieu's dead. She's a crumpled, burnt mess. All is well, but we lost Manhattan, right? So Angela walks in the theater and she sees where Manhattan teleported the children. They're sleeping on the stage play where the Black Oklahoma plays the final show. And her grandfather, Mr. Willie Reeves, is sitting there watching over the babies. This is, I'm emotional. I am so emotional. And Angela gets what she's been searching for the whole time. All this time, she didn't think she had a family. And she finally has, she's reconnected with her lineage. And she even tells her grandfather, come home. And she uses that word intentionally. This is your home. Come home. And she don't offer him a long stay. I ain't gonna lie. She said to Granddad, "You got a few days." I don't know where she want him to go, but she did offer him home. And I want to go back to the generational lineage. Just bring it back to the pilot. We see how the pain in this particular family births justice. There's this shot here which is brilliant because we know when Willie Reeves played Hooded Justice, he's painted his eyes white so people would think it's a white man as that hero. Because unlike his favorite silent film where Bass Reeves was celebrated by a crowd of adoring whites clapping for him for taking down a white sheriff, that wasn't going to happen in real life. So he was like, y'all need a white hero. You're not really going to be out here messing with a black hero doing justice, right? So, but as a child, he wore the mask before he even stepped into it. His identity was present before he even stepped into it. And this shot alone shows it. Ugh. Let's go back to Blake again. You wear a mask to hide the pain. Y'all, even Dr. Manhattan had a mask when he pulled up on Angela at Abar. Huh? He pulled up on Angela at Abar. And I think his pain was being immortal. Those who he loved were going to die one day. Those who he loved, he'd lose or he has to leave Earth or something happens all the time. And of course, the tragic ending, which he knew in 10 years from this meeting with Angela, he knew that was coming. So even when he met Angela, he had a mask, but it was a mask of himself. He couldn't be himself in that first meeting. He had to woo and persuade and open her and guide her to believing that he was the God of the universe. And so Willie says one of my favorite lines, and when I tweeted it, it went off because black folk resonated with it. Willie looked at Angela and said, "Wounds need air." Like, listen, that mask cannot stay on. That mask it protects you from the pain. We got to take it off. So I want to go back to the pilot again. When Willie first meets Angela, he's sitting in a wheelchair while she's going into her bakery, because this is before we even see her turn into Sister Night. Her mask, her first mask with Mr. Willie Reeves was that bakery. That's her mask to everyone. That I'm a baker. She lied to the kids. She wore this bakery mask to the children in the classroom. And that's her first mask. And he also has a mask asking her, like, "You think I can lift 200 pounds? She's like, "You're just a crazy little old man. I'm going to go inside with my fake cookies and whatever." But when he calls her back towards the end of the episode, after he kills Chief Judd and hangs him from a tree, he calls her, "Yo, come outside and don't wear that mask." Whew. She had to face her legacy as herself. She had to be raw. Don't wear that mask here. Come look at your legacy for the first time in this series. And in that theater, in this finale, Willie has a sense of pride over his face after asking her if she took the nostalgia pills, if she took his memories. And he says to her, "Now you know my everything, my heart and story." And I think, as a black woman, how many of our ancestors' stories died with them? Our ancestors didn't have the opportunity to tell us their stories or give us their hearts. And this starts with the birth of America, how our families didn't have anybody. You took our sons, you took our daughters, you took our mothers, you took our fathers, you broke our family, and you stole our family name to build this country. We had no name, we had no lineage, we had no story. And we couldn't give that to ourselves, and we couldn't give that to each other. And to look at this grandfather, look his grandchild in the face and says, "You have my heart and my story." Our actual black ancestors could never give that to us. And that's real life. So the Williams Dreamland Theater, the birth of Willie's trauma and pain, is now the place of his healing. It births a new story for him and his family. They're able to connect. They're able to give each other's memories. They're able to protect each other. They're able to move forward together. And they, like so many black people in this country, could not do that. And one of the most genius things that's happened with this family is that Willie Reeves and Angela Abar, they both invented their own names. Those are not their real names. But the difference is, from the actual black history to this fictional series, is that they had the power to choose their new names. Angela Abar chose her new name. Willie Reeves chose his new name because the town and that superhero that he watched in his favorite silent film encouraged him to take on that new identity. And what do we have in this moment? We have Willie's dream. Willie's dream has been fulfilled. His prophecy fulfilled. The circle is closed. He's won. He is absolutely won. And this is the full circle moment. This is where we started episode 1, and this is where we finish episode 9. So now that Willie Reeves' story and his prophecy is complete and his purpose fulfilled, we have space to breathe legacy and new identity into who? Come on now, Miss Angela Abar. And if we look at legacy, we see that Bass Reeves and Angela Abar's black hood is exactly similar, which looks similar to Hooded Justice, right? So Bass is Willie's inspiration and Sister Night is Angela's inspiration. These superheroes, inspiring these black people through their trauma, and they all mirror each other. They all mirror each other, and they speak about emotion for a moment, and they say, "What did you feel when you put on that mask?" Angela goes, "Anger." Well, Willie says, "That's some of it, but behind the mask is fear and hurt." And this, unlike we've seen in so many moments where Angela should have done it, Angela finally cries. Her walls come down. And I'm actually going to come back to that point. Remember I said that her walls come down. So right before we go into the big, the big reveal, the big cliffhanger at the end of this episode, Willie Reeves looks over to Angela and says something that sticks out just a little bit. No, on first watch, you're going to miss it. Okay? I missed it. The first watch, you're going to miss it. But going back, it sticks out like a huge sore thumb. He says, can't make an omelet without breaking a couple of eggs. And he goes, well, when I met Manhattan, he told me to tell you that. He said, you'll understand when it's time. And we all just moved on, right? The eggs, I don't get it. Because there's this really cool song that comes on when Angela and her new family is walking out of this theater, walking out of Willie's dream, heading back home. And the song comes on and starts to play. And it stuck out to me because I heard him say elephant. And I'm like, we know what an elephant's what. And then the lyric says, corners as high as an elephant's eye. And it looks like it's climbing clear up to the sky. A little brown maverick is blinking her eye. Everything's going my way. We are on a great journey. Things are looking up. Things are happening. It's great. This little brown maverick, this little brown troublemaker is her journey is being cleared for her. And thinking of an elephant's eye, what was Angela connected to? What was her blood being given to when she was in Trieu's care? A huge elephant in the room. Huge elephant in the room. And that's where the room she thought her granddaddy was hiding. She was actually connected and feeding off of an elephant. So this is not a mistake. As we're going through this mask of the bakery, Angela's leading her new family into this bakery, this Manhattan-less family through this bakery. Her son sees his legacy. Her mask is down. And similar to how Angela discovered Judd's KKK grandfather in his house, Angela's son discovers her Sister Night costume in her bakery. And we know this. Something else really cool happens as she's kissing the kids goodnight. There's a wild animals poster over one of the daughters. And the wild animals is what a racist called the black people in Williams Theater killing each other when Willie Reeves was a cop. When they were hypnotized in the silent film, killing each other, a racist goes, yeah, the wild animals, and they refers to black people as wild animals. Also, look at the animals. The elephant is blue. So Angela Abar is walking around with elephant blood, and the elephant is also blue on the poster. But then we go to these flashbacks. Angela got to clean up this kitchen. She's trying to get the kids to bed, all this stuff. And we flash back, we see these broken eggs on the floor in Manhattan trying to make a waffle while these white supremacists are coming to take him and steal him and kill him. And Angela's not understanding why you want to make waffles right now. It was frustrating. I ain't gonna lie, it was frustrating. Okay? But as he's making waffles and the eggs fly out the refrigerator, he goes, watch the eggs. And she breaks him because she's like, why aren't you just getting it? You don't understand the severity of the situation. We go to another flashback of their first date at a bar. When he's trying to persuade her, he's trying to convince her that, look, I am the real Dr. Manhattan. I can create life. And he gives her an egg and explains to her, yeah, if I can put my power into organic material and if someone consumes it, technically, yeah, I've transferred my powers. And opening this egg carton, there is one singular, unbroken egg. What's happening? What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? This is so exciting. So now it's Willie's turn to get to bed. He's rude as hell, talking about, well, considering everything that Dr. Manhattan could do, he could have done more. Now, Willie, you couldn't save it to tomorrow. Angela lost her man. She don't know what's going on. There might be an egg. Why you gotta be complicated tonight? This is why you can only stay 3 days. Because you run your mouth, Willie. You don't know how to be quiet. But this line is super important. Because Dr. Manhattan did all he came to do. And he's gone now. So if he could have done more, baby, who gonna do it? Ooh, who gonna do it? Who's going to do more? Angela figures out at this point Dr. Manhattan's gift and message for her. Eat the egg. Anime said, eat the egg. Anime. So I want to pay attention to the shots here because this is where directing becomes genius. This is where you make words and lines on a script come alive. Here we go, guys. Pay attention. Pay attention. I know I ain't lose y'all yet. We have a flashback of when Angela and Dr. Manhattan meet for the first time at a bar. In the first shot, the egg is in focus and Manhattan is out of focus, which means he's leaving. The very next shot, the egg is in focus and Angela is out of focus. This means this is a transfer of power. The next shot, the egg is out of focus and Angela's eyes become in focus as she asks, "So if I eat this, I can walk on water?" And if you guys notice, there's a huge blue mound in the background, which means this transfer is complete. The blue is now on her side. You want to confirm this? Let's look at the last shot of this scene. The egg again is in focus and we can't even see Manhattan at all. He is a headless Manhattan. He's gone. So who got the blue now, baby? Who got the blue now, baby? Ooh, who got the blue now, baby? This is the rebirth of Angela Abar. We have come from 1 to 9. After 9, you have to have 1 again. These are new steps, new identity, new journey, new path, new purpose. She literally steps from the darkness into the light, but not even into the light, into the blue. She steps from the darkness into the blue. And as the Bible says, since there were so many religious references in this episode, God made the earth and it was dark and void. And he said, "Let there be light." And as she leaves the darkness and steps into the blue, we have this last shot of this egg over water. Manhattan over the blue, the power over the blue, the power that walks on water. That's everything that this shot alone means. Similar to mirrors representing different identities. This is fragment of personalities. This fragment of identities. Reflections mean that there's someone new to be discovered. And so before we even see Angela again, we see her reflection first, walking on water. This inverted reflection, this other side of Angela walking on water. We already saw it, but we said it wasn't real. It's just a reflection. Yes, we missed it. We missed it. She's already her, similar to how granddaddy looked through that peephole as his family was getting killed in the Oklahoma massacre. That identity showed before he even stepped into it. His mask was already on before he stepped into it. Angela has no idea, but her identity already claimed her. Her identity claimed her first. Oh, you long little king, you the king already. King, you the king, you the king already. So something really cool happens here as well. I should have just looked up the director's name, right? Because I'm sweating you right now. I'm really sweating you right now. The camera does something fire. Hella fire. Now, if you guys study, just film 101, because I ain't no expert. I'm far from a film expert, okay? But when the camera angle points down on someone, that looks like submission. They have to look up at us as an audience. You know, we are the ones in power and they are submissive and vulnerable and small and weak. When the camera looks up at someone, they are an authoritative figure. You know, a lot of the times when we see Adrian Veidt, the camera's pointing up at him. We have to, as an audience, have to look up at him. So Angela is starting with this neutral shot. We are eye level with Angela. We are human. We're just like her. We are on her level, literally. But she's standing in front of these long, tall, slender trees. And this is not by mistake. This is where genius comes in, right? And the camera does something. We start at eye level, but the camera pushes in on her very slowly as she eats the egg. And it pushes on her and then it tilts up so much so that it creates a visual illusion as if she's literally growing. She looks huge and tall and larger than life, to where now the top of her head matches the top of the trees in her backyard. We know what size she is, but the illusion is that she has grown bigger than life. We literally watch her go from human to a god. And then, of course, a huge cliffhanger with her foot dangling over that pool. And people are like, is it? Is it not? Is it? Is it not? Y'all, if y'all have been paying attention, this is not a cliffhanger. If y'all have been paying attention and seen everything, this is not a cliffhanger. She is very much Manhattan's legacy. She was very much a god. She already is. Some people are starting to tweet that they don't need a season 2. And to be quite honest, I need y'all to shut up. I need y'all to shut up. If HBO does not give me a season 2, I'll be very upset. Oh, it's a limited series. Limited my butt, yo. Are you kidding me? No. Give me a season 2. Let me see her as a god that has to raise her family and change the world and have new worthy adversaries, as Adrian Veidt often says. Give me a season 2 or give me death. Literally. Wow. A black woman god? Historically, black women were the first humans to grace this earth. Sorry to bust your bubble. Okay. But like Angela Abar said, only the proteins in the eggs hold up the walls of that bubble, but they could bust. Sorry to bust your bubble. I want to give a little extra in this episode, and I want to talk about the pilot just a little bit more because there were so many Easter eggs that lead to the experience of this finale. Let's just talk about the Watchmen eggs, okay? The Watchmen eggs, this goes back to the original smiley face, the yellow smiley face comics. It's just a nod to that, but also y'all playing in our face because as we start with the egg, which is the birth of life, even thinking about living life, even when we get pregnant, you have to start with the egg. This transfer of power starts off so innocently, something that she didn't even know she was a part of, this master plan with the bakery and knowing eggs and knowing how it works. And that being the transfer of power for Dr. Manhattan, and watching her being surrounded by all that blue. And even in that smiley face full of eggs, there's a tiny little blood stain to the left, which matches the blood stain on Chief Judd's badge as he was hanging from that tree. And the stain on America with its racism and capitalism. So full. This series was so full. Let's do something else with the pilot. We open up the series with, Willie Reeves in the theater and the massacre and meeting Chief Judd and seeing the black cop get shot by these racists. And when we finally meet Angela, we don't actually see her. We only hear her voice as we're looking at a recording of Dr. Manhattan on Mars. And she's explaining to the class on career day how protein in eggs work. And the end was the answer right there. The answer to the end was right there. Manhattan overlaying Angela's voice. We don't quite see Manhattan. We see his glowing figure, but we hear Angela. That's layered for a reason, y'all. This also, her dialogue about how the protein build walls in eggs, but once you break that wall, the yolk comes running down, it mixes all in, it does all that. This is also a mirror to her emotional arc. And she says right here in this pilot, without walls, it all comes tumbling down. And we have to think about, as people, how guarded we are all the time. We are totally walking around this guarded all the time. Because we feel like we need to put our walls up. We need to put our mask on to protect ourselves. Protect yourselves from what, ladies and gentlemen? And my non-binary babies? From the pain. We have all gone through it. We all have our trauma story. We all have our painful stories. And we put on our mask and we build our walls to protect ourselves from that, from meeting that again. But the healing comes when you face it. The healing comes when you face your legacy and you face that birthplace of your trauma. That's where it comes in. Ooh. That's where it comes in. These are really cool shots in here. Angela is surrounded by blue, obviously, but we can't quite see her. All these children's heads are in the way, and there's so much barriers, and we only see that as she's talking about the bakery. And even the teacher is like, well, how long you been doing the bakery? You can kind of see her like stumble or like force this line out, and her son's looking at her like she's crazy, like, we about to get caught. Mommy, you lying. Like, when Angela is lying and putting on this front, we have so many blockages in her way and we can't quite see Angela. But when she's telling the children about this trauma story, about the white night when the terrorists came in, broke into her house, shot her in the stomach, and the teacher had to stop her, like, listen, now you know it a lot. The teacher had to stop, and that's when it was clear as day. We can see Angela in her full glory because that's when she was being honest and true. Y'all are so good. Y'all are so good. And something else really cool before I sign out. I just want to make this last statement, and then you guys can fill up the comments with your own theories and Easter eggs and all the things that you saw that wasn't mentioned in this video. Her Red Moon Cakes poster. I thought it was cool because Dr. Manhattan is on a red Mars, as we saw really quickly. But we also believe that he was really on Jupiter moon. But just kidding, because he in her house. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it was like moon cakes with a red poster. And all of that was just all these like little pieces that tell you fragments of the stories that you're just supposed to put together in the end. And ladies and gentlemen, Angela, like the pilot, is once again surrounded by blue. And I believe that not only was he protecting her and watching over her, she was his reflection. She was his embodiment, and she was his legacy. That was my finale of Watchmen dissection. Thank you for being here. As you can tell, I had so much fun with this series. I really loved it, and I love being this excited about film and TV. Like, it takes a long time to get something good to sink your teeth into like this, and this is why I'm so grateful to like have it, because like it doesn't, things like this series does not come often. It just don't, like, you know what I mean? And so when I finally find something this juicy, this delectable, this meaty, that you can rewatch and the story alters compared to the knowledge that you now have, come on, you can't beat that. You can't beat it. And things like this, of course, inspire me to want to be a better writer, even though I'm being lazy as hell right now, but I do want to be a better writer. It just makes me... It also gives myself a little bit of grace, because I'm like, okay, it took a huge team. It took years of research of the comics, of the universe and all this. It took months and years to put all these details into the story, and I have to give myself grace for not getting it right and perfect the first time I put my pen to a paper. You know what I mean? Like, any writers out there, any screenwriters out there, give yourself some grace to let your script suck a little bit. It ain't gonna be watching the first draft, so, or the second or seventh. You gotta keep working to get something that magnificent. So let me know your ideas. Please subscribe, guys. Become a Patreon of my channel today. Be starting at $2 rewards and prizes and gifts. And it goes up to $25. So check it out, patreon.com/JustLatasha, to see which tier works best for you. And that's about it, daddies. Okay, thank y'all for being here. I will see you later.